You lead the American League with the best batting average. How have you been able to not only be effective, but do it on a consistent basis?
I mean, I just prepare my mind and be positive, and then I just talk to my hitting coach that come in here and then do my job, and then I just try to do my best there, and then keep giving energy to my teammates.
I love those questions. Like, so how are you? You had 3 hits today. How do you do it? I think I would just answer by saying, I'm a badass. I'm a lethal weapon with a bat in my hand every single time I step on the baseball field. You'll notice there's 4 of us on the screen here on Mackie and Judd today. Mackie, Judd, executive producer Declan. The Twins are set to face the Yankees at Target Field, and we are masochists. We like when the Yankees come in here and provide pain for us over the last 20 years. Nobody better to help talk it through than Talkin Jake from Jom Boy Media, Talkin Yanks, and the #1 baseball podcast in America, Talkin Baseball. What's going on, Talkin Jake?
What's going on, fellas? How we doing? I'm excited, man. I'll let you guys lead, but there's a couple friendly faces on the Twins side now. Yankee fans still love Gio and Gary, and yeah, kind of like you said, the Twins are, we get some fun and we usually get some wins. So I'll try not to go full heel.
No, dude.
I'll try to be as neutral as possible. But
we are like,
excited.
here's what this is. Our sense is that, so Declan put a graphic up on the Score North Twitter page. I think it's only regular season. The Twins are like 36-87 against the Yankees. And then if you do the playoff math, you tack on another 2-16, but those 2 wins are from like 20 years ago. So when you're feeling a little blue and you wake up in the morning just feeling a little bit down, which Twins-Yankees playoff beatdown do you go to mentally to jumpstart your day?
Oh, man. I mean, in recent history, God, it's got to be the Severino. We've got our new baby ace on the mound. And here come the Twins, and these aren't your uncle's Twins. These are the new Twins, and
this is the Bomba Squad. The Bomba Squad.
Yeah, exactly. They knock Sevy out of the game, and oh my God, we're gonna lose the wild card, and then Didi back at you. I mean, unreal. That for a lot of new Yankee fans or younger Yankee fans, however you want to phrase it, that's one of their like favorite recent memories because I know Yankee fans were elitists, we're whatever we are. I got to grow up in the 90s, some special stuff, but we are getting far away from those Yankees. There's a lot of young Yankee fans that they have 09. Some of them don't have 09. You see some ridiculously bad tweets from those people on the internet. But that's the one that's got to jump to the forefront of my brain, talking Twinkies.
As far as the Twins go, in my opinion, you probably give them 0 thought because you've kicked the crap. Like if you're going to go to a good place, right? You're going to go to a Red Sox win where you guys beat the Red Sox. You're going to go to a place where there's a team that you actually respect and where you have every right to dismiss the Twins as being a total fraud as this. This franchise in Game 2, 2019, sent an Uber driver, Randy Dobnik, out to face your team. And he was mocked, ridiculed, and bounced around like a rag doll. So tell the truth. You don't think about the Twins unless you're facing them, in which case you see them as a speed bump and nothing more. Is that correct?
Oh, man, I lost you guys for most of that question. Could you run it back?
Oh, no.
I was wondering if I didn't set up the question of, my point is you don't think about the Twins because the Twins are a team that to you guys is basically a speed bump and nothing more. Is that correct?
Here's what I'll say. I love sports. I love all sports. I love the idea and the beauty of it and the chance that on any given day it can happen, right? Like you can – a starting pitcher could give up line drives and they could be right at the shortstop every time. And, the other team could have one broken bat single and that's a win. The last iteration of the Twins, the Bomba Squad, like you guys said, I gave them the hope. I was like, hey, you guys aren't the old Twins. Like, come on, like, let's see it. Let's see what you got. And then, yeah, man, they kind of flunked the dunk. And you're right. Like I'm at a certain point, you got to say, like, you got to show me something. I can't I'm not going into October fearing the Twins until they win a series. Like, come on.
Dude, this is the crazy thing. And as you can tell, we've become very salty and uninspired by some of these Minnesota sports failures as well. We try to remind people at least once a week, even during the offseason. The Minnesota Twins have the longest postseason losing streak in North American team sports history. Not losing series, Talkin Jake. They are 0-18 in their last 18 playoff games. And so, I don't know, maybe, we come from this sort of inferiority complex, small man sports syndrome. You come from Yankees, New York sports fan. Are there any tips you have for us to be more sports confident? How can our teams break through and just win a playoff game, for God's sakes, in October?
I think you've come to the right guy. I'm someone that's 5'7", and up until this part of my life, I wouldn't say I was successful, yet I had a confident air to me. So maybe I can spit that to Minnesota. Here's what I'd say. We're changing. The Timberwolves are fun now. How about that? I mean, the T-Wolves have low-key been one of the worst sports franchises themselves. Not just sending bow and arrows across. The Vikings, they had a couple years there where they were nicer. They were competing. They were in the playoffs. Those squads look good. Love some Dalvin Cook. It's a new leaf, man. Trevor Plouffe's gone. The curse of Trevor Plouffe is over.
the fun bunch. I love it.
This is not going well. Hey, how surprising is the Yankees' success? Because it felt like, at some point, at least in 21, Boone's job was in jeopardy, and there were certainly some people that weren't pleased. Just with the starting pitching now, and this team, I think they have the best record a third of the way through the season since the M's in 2001. How surprising is the fact that this team looks pretty dominant at this point?
I don't want to say unbelievable. There's a ton of talent. They are the Yankees. They have the payroll. They have some young guys. Severino came back this year. There was a recipe for this team to be really good. That being said, we weren't bought in early. The Yankees lost a series to the Orioles, and they went to 7-6, and some of their problems looked to be the same to last year. And that was a big – we recorded one of our Talkin Yanks podcasts, and we had eyes wide open. Like, are we lining up for another, I say long summer, and that's obviously in Yankees terms, because the team is going to be competitive, but it's to what degree? And they have found a new level. Rizzo, he looks more like Anthony Rizzo than he did when he came over to the Yankees last year. He kind of had a weird situation. The pitching is just unreal. It's unreal. The outings they get every night. They had 3 straight nights where their pitchers were basically perfect. Not good starts, like perfect through 7 innings. So it's tough to lose baseball games when you're doing that. So there's a really good energy around the team. And I was prefacing you guys earlier. We Yankee fans still love Gary and Gio, but unfortunately, the Yankees were so right-handed, and they were so I'll say it slow. I love Gary and Gio, but they ain't speed guys, and so they just shuffled that around with Kiner Falefa a little bit. And by the way, Aaron Judge going for the MVP casually is pretty nice to have. So yeah, we didn't see this coming. It was kind of like, this team is going to be in the 90 wins probably, but is it 90 on the nose, kind of what they did last year? Or are some things going to click and they can be an upper echelon team? Now they're on pace for Looney Tunes stuff.
And Sanchez and Urshela have both been awesome for the Twins. Offense is down until Friday, and all of a sudden they changed the baseball or something. But offense, we're back to like the mid-1960s offensive outputs here. And so you look at some of the OPS numbers and you say, oh, that's not very good. But then, Gary Sanchez actually has an above-average OPS relative to the league. So they're bringing good pieces. But that whole sequence of moves, the Twins front office has been really bad the last couple of years at just missteps. Like, they've let some great players go for almost nothing. They tried to sign Homer Bailey as a reclamation project and Dylan Bundy. But the chess that they played to get rid of Josh Donaldson, to open up room for Carlos Correa, even if he's a one-year mercenary, Even if for just like one season it felt like, oh, the Twins made a chess move that was great and they outsmarted some other front offices. From a Yankee standpoint, losing out on the star shortstops in free agency, picking up Josh Donaldson, but then also having to give up Urshela and Gary Sanchez. How did that whole sequence of events land for you guys, and what are your thoughts on Josh Donaldson now?
Man, some of our best natural content, that trade happened. We were in Arizona for spring training. And, they announced on the flight to Arizona that baseball was coming back. So we were full tilt. We had planned a whole week in Arizona with like baseball players and other plans outside of baseball because it was still in a lockout. So plane in, lockout's over. Okay. So we're going in hyperdrive, pure chaos. All the signings are starting to happen. And then the trade drops. And, man, it's one of those things that's funny. It's funny then, it's funny now. Being Yankees guys, a lot of people at this company had to be Yankee fans. We're starting – there's a Reds guy out there. We've got some more people, but,
Got a Reds guy.
We probably – yeah, we got a Reds guy now. But, we had 25 people out in Arizona, something like that, and I think 20 of them are Yankee fans. And they're real Yankee fans. So that trade drops. And, man, Gary Sanchez, a lot of Yankee fans have spent time defending Gary Sanchez or the other side of it. Gio Urshela, talk about heartstrings, man. The way he plays third base is beautiful. Just his general demeanor, he's one of those people you can tell. He's just a fun, bubbly guy. Shares the same birthday with me. Libras, what's up? When it happened, and Kiner Falefa was the shortstop, it was a nervous moment. It was a nervous moment because this was an all-time free agent shortstop class. I mean, borderline Hall of Famers, all-star guys. Correa just won the Platinum Glove. Trevor Story's got incredible stats. Baez, everyone, Simeon, it was insane. And we're the Yankees, right? Big checks. Who's coming to town? The fact that Kiner Falefa ended up being the shortstop, it was kind of this whoa moment. Like we had thought we'd been building up to a new face of the franchise shortstop. So then it's processing Donaldson and where's he at? And he kind of had a reputation of being, in my head, Josh Donaldson was injury prone. So everyone starts digging through the stats, and it definitely wasn't a level of injury prone that I should be saying that phrase. He's an older player who had a couple injuries, but he ended up playing games, and the stats were still there. Like you guys are talking about OPS. I mean, some of Josh Donaldson's stats were still there. And then our final kind of getting over the hump and buying in, because it's baseball and it's preseason. You're going to buy into your team. You have to. You're signing up for 162 games. One of our guys, Dan Rourke, he's a hilarious Yankees follow. He said, with Josh Donaldson, we get the bad guy side of Correa without actually having to bring in Correa. The Yankees kind of needed a tough guy and the bad guy, and Josh Donaldson is that. Now, in light of recent news, not as great, but, kind of the old Josh Donaldson. He's the guy you hate to play against. He plays with piss and vinegar, and the Yankees needed a little bit of that. So it left us a little bit confused about the infield. No one had Josh Donaldson, Kiner Falefa on their bingo card for the Yankees' left side of the infield, but it's working out so far. So you can't complain, but it was definitely scary when it's like, well, wait, we're paying Donaldson $25 million and Kiner Falefa is the shortstop with the free agents that were out there. But hey, turns out they were right.
On Sanchez too. It feels like he is a guy, and your team has had this with guys previously, that once he got out of that market, appears to be far calmer and more like, it feels like the Post and the tabloids got to him for sure. How much do you think that became a problem there too? Because I mean, I go back to when I was a kid, the Yankees signed a pitcher from the Padres, Ed Whitson, if you recall him, and Whitson was really good and melted down there. Like he couldn't take it. It feels like
Sonny Gray
yeah,
with the
melted down. Pavano. It feels like Gary Sanchez getting out of that market in particular is probably far happier. I don't think he trusts the press still, but I also think that here it's not that tough.
Definitely, 1,000%, and it all makes sense. Unfortunately, when you put everything in the bucket, him and Judge come to rise at the same time, and Gary and Judge got compared to each other, which is unreal. Aaron Judge is one of the best players in baseball. He would win the MVP trophy right now. And he's not just, keeping it in New York a little bit. He's not Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso's awesome. He's a big polar bear that hits home run. Judge is 5 tools. He steals bases. He plays elite defense. It's everything. So Gary Sanchez getting compared to Aaron Judge was a little bit of a disaster from the start. They should never be compared to. We always used to say, compare Gary Sanchez to other pitchers. When you do that, his offensive stats are off the charts. The defensive stuff is there and it exists and it is what it is. That part of it does tie into the Yankees, not just the fan base. The Yankees changed catching coaches a couple times. They changed up his stance. Gary Sanchez has a rocket arm. It's pretty badass. His framing and receiving and some of the other stuff, it's a tier below. Like there's no other way to say it. He's out there to hit. But yeah, Gary, that's why it's one of these weird things. Like picture Yankee fans or the idea of Yankee fans. I buttoned up shirt before I got on, but the chain hanging out and yelling at Gary Sanchez. Yankee fans still love Gary. Which what does that say about how all of the Gary stuff went down? It's that he's a good dude. He's a really good ball player. And, when he left, everyone said, go hit 30 this year, Gary, and go get paid, man, because he's awesome.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, has John Sterling figured out a way to work Kiner Falefa into a home run call, but he hasn't hit a home run yet this season, I see. So we don't even know what John Sterling's Kiner Falefa home run call is.
And I don't think John Sterling knows either. But when that ball leaves the
it
park,
is high, it is far, it is gone. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a ground ball to the third baseman.
He's an absolute treasure. I know for new baseball fans, it might be tough to listen to an 83-year-old guy on the radio, but he is a delight. For me, he's like a twice a month. It's like mixing up your breakfast or something. Like you just got to get some John Sterling.
He's like some Fiber One cereal in the morning with
literally
little prune juice. All right, Talkin Jake. You can catch him on the #1 Apple baseball podcast in America, Talkin Baseball, part of Jom Boy Media and the Talkin Yanks podcast. If you're a masochistic Twins fan and you want the Yankees fan perspective, go check that out. And then where else by the way, people should check out, and I think it's gone viral at this point, but the Jom Boy YouTube channel put a video up of the Yankees figuring out what pitches that Tigers pitcher was throwing out of the stretch the other day. That was incredible. My God.
Yeah, it's Jim gets all the credit on that. I mean, some of the pitch tipping stuff, if you're a baseball fan, it strikes a chord in you that you got to check it out. I mean, all the breakdowns are great. We do silly stuff. We do a show called The Weekly Dumb that, it's in the title. If you're looking to lose 8 minutes of your life, but have a couple laughs along the way. And yeah, man, all our baseball stuff, we're not necessarily good at peacocking. We don't like shouting from the clouds. We're #1 or things like that. But we really believe in our baseball stuff. And now Trevor Plouffe, Minnesota's first Prince, he's on Talkin Baseball, and he does Baseball Today with Chris Rose, which is really good. I mean, Chris Rose is, we always laugh because he's a professional, and like a lot of our stuff isn't, but he's so good. So yeah, our baseball stuff, we got it.
Love it, man. Thanks for coming on. Talkin Jake. Great stuff, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jake.
Good luck against whoever the hell the Twins are going to throw at that Yankees lineup over the next 3 days. We don't know who's pitching yet, but damn it.
TBD, man. It's tough.
Good freaking luck. All right, boys, let's get into our Let's get into our weekly pecking order here. Twins, Yankees related. And Declan, presented by our friends at Aquaside.
Yes. I was driving around last weekend and a couple weekends when I was in Shell Lake, Wisconsin, Phil, and I noticed that Shell Lake is an Aquaside lake. I don't see any lake weeds. I don't see any algae down at the bottom of that lake. And that's because Aquaside and their Aquaside pellets help remove all that weed and algae. Go check them out. They're at aquaside.com. Their products are safe. They're also registered with the EPA and the DNR. If you want that nice lake experience, or if you get a nice pond on your property, go give my friends at Aquaside a call. Aquaside.com to learn more.
All right, boys. The pecking order is not for the faint of heart this week. It is the top 5 Twins-Yankees playoff moments that depressed me the most.
It's actually bottom 5.
Yeah, technically this would be a
wouldn't
bottom
be
5
the top
list.
5.
Yeah. You're right.
But let's hear it.
There's more than 5 because, again, the Twins are 2-16 over 6 playoff series against the Yankees since 2003. Let's consider this sort of an exorcism, a purging of Twins-Yankees negativity here going into a crucial 3-game set at Target Field. We'll start with number 5. Again, these are the 5 most depressing Twins-Yankees playoff moments in my eyes. Number 5, the Twins running Randy Dobnak out at Yankee Stadium in a playoff game. And they were chanting, "Uber driver," at this poor guy.
I was there. I was intimidated. So you can only imagine how the man standing in the middle of the diamond felt.
Yeah, it did not go well for him. Crooked numbers all over the place. And he really hasn't ever recovered from it. Right? I mean, did he bounce back for a little bit maybe in 2020?
I think it left a lasting impression, if that's what you're trying to say. I would agree with that.
And then, but he did get a contract in there at some point. But yeah, it's all kind of been downhill since then for the Dauber, unfortunately. Number 4, Nick Punto's base running blunder in Game 3 of the 2009 ALDS.
Good one.
In fact, the 2009 ALDS actually represents most of the things on this list. So if you remember, the Twins were down already 2-0 in the series for reasons which we'll get to later in this list. But they're toe-to-toe, they're fighting, they know they belong. They were the hottest team down the stretch in September. They were down 2-1 in the 8th inning at home at the Metrodome. And Nick Punto doubles to start the inning off Phil Hughes, who later became a Twin. Denard Span then reaches on an infield single. I think it was up the middle if I recall correctly, but it didn't go all the way through. Nick Punto thought the ball went through to the outfield, and so he rounded third base hard. Of course, there was a stop sign, I'm sure, because, third base coach isn't waving him home. But he rounded hard. The throw comes in behind him, and he can't get back to the bag in time. He gets tagged out, and the rally comes to an end. They would have had, I believe, runners on second and third with nobody out and the heart of the order coming up. Instead, there was one out runner on second base and a huge buzzkill vibe inside the stadium.
Didn't Gordo go nuts?
Yes, he did.
Oh, God.
Melted down. Gordo never melted down.
I love Gordon.
It was so bad. I remember, God, as a young part-timer, I think I was hosting a weekend Twin show on The Fan at the time, and I was in that clubhouse, and I remember asking Nick Punto a couple of questions just like for post-game audio, and he wore it, man. Like, he 100% owned it, just felt terrible, and teammates were coming up to console him, but, like, the series was over. So,
right.
All right, number 3 on the list.
Wow, this is painful.
Alex Rodriguez getting the best of Joe Nathan twice. People forget about the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one it's like the most notable one is the 2009, Twins this was game 2, I believe, of 2009. Twins took a 3-1 lead into the 9th inning, and then A-Rod hits a 2-run bomb to right center field to tie the game. And then more things ensued in extra innings, which we'll get to. But that was 2000. But if you go back to 2004, the Twins were up 1-0 in the series, game 2. Mm-hmm. Chance to go up 2-0, and the Twins take a 1-run lead into the bottom of the 12th. So they score on the top of the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
They're just 3 outs away from a freaking 2-0 series lead on the Yankees here. And Joe Nathan, you could argue that this was less on Joe Nathan, more on Ron Gardenhire. Joe Nathan comes out for his 3rd inning of work in this game because he started in the 10th inning. And so he's up to like 50 pitches, which is unprecedented for him. He walks Cairo and Jeter and then gives up a double to Alex Rodriguez to tie the game and a sac fly to Hideki Matsui to win the game. And that was a wrap. Series tied at 1. Twins haven't won a playoff game since.
Somewhere there has to be a happy medium between Gardy and Rocco.
Where you just leave. Well, Gardy used to pull starting pitchers pretty early too, like for the
but
times.
I'm just saying. Imagine sending a guy who's a closer out for. You sent your closer out for 3 in 1977.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know who the other
Wally
options were at
Fingers
that point.
Pitched 3 innings.
True.
You know, do you trust inferior fourth guy off the bench in the bullpen or Joe Nathan? It's tough. You know, you ride your best pitchers, but
Right.
because if they would have pulled Joe Nathan, I actually know if they would have pulled him after 2 innings, I think people would have said, yeah, well, he pitched 2 innings, he can't go anymore. So maybe there wouldn't have been second guessing. All right, number 2 on my list, most depressing Twins-Yankees playoff moments. Brian Dunsing starting Game 3 at Yankee Stadium in the 2010 ALDS. You knew that game was over before it started, and I love Brian Dunsing, one of my favorite players I ever covered, one of the nicest human beings on the planet, but that was not the spot to run him out.
Dominic or that worse? Dominic, right?
Boy. Very similar cases, like a couple of guys who didn't have electric stuff that were just kind of, trying to locate and keep the ball down in the zone, and
Right.
they're both very similar. I guess in the case of Dunsing, well, no, let's go back to that 2019 one.
Yep.
No, these are parallels, dude. In both seasons, they had a chance to trade for a starting pitcher at the deadline, and they didn't.
Well, in 19, keep in mind, they actually held Odorizzi back for Game 3 to start here. So it's like they could have started him there.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, the home game, we got to get Jake out there. It's like, you sure you don't want to get Jake out there instead of Randy Dominic? Yeah. So that's where I found fault with that 2019 decision.
And Big Mike Pineda was supposed to start. I'm trying to think of 2010.
Pinched.
Liriano and Pavano started the first 2 games. Was Baker hurt? I'm just trying to think of why Dunsing even started Game 3, but he did, and it didn't go well. They fell down like 6-0 pretty early. Mm-hmm. And number 1, the most depressing Twins-Yankees playoff moment, Joe Mauer's, what should have been double down the left field line, ruled foul inexplicably by Phil Cuzzy in Game 2, extra innings 2009.
Yeah.
So in the bottom of the 9th inning, again, Twins were up here, chance to even the series at 1 game apiece, and Mark Teixeira hits a 2-run bomb to tie the game at 3. I think that was off Joe Nathan. Or maybe it was off some. I can't remember. Mark Teixeira hits a homer. Mm-hmm. So 3-3 going into the 11th inning. Joe Mauer walks up to the plate, laces a 1-1 pitch right down the left field line. So they have like extra umpires in these games, right? Phil Cuzzy he's just staring right. He's got one job, and he's staring at it. Iconic photo of the ball clearly hitting a foot inside the line, not even like chalk, like a foot inside the line, and he's just got hands on knees staring right down the line, signaling foul. Of course, there's no reviews at the time. Today I think it would be reviewable today, right?
Yes,
in today's game.
That's reviewable.
And so you'd put him on second base. And so Joe Mauer wound up reaching first base either via walk or single, but he would have been on second base. And the next part of the inning, Jason Kubel comes up, singles. Twins would have likely taken at least a 4-3 lead into the bottom half. And then who knows, maybe they still give it up. But just one of the most ridiculous, egregious situations in Twins history. So the Mauer ground rule, or the Mauer double that should have been called a double, but it wasn't. Dunsing starting at Yankee Stadium, A-Rod getting the best of Joe Nathan twice, Nick Punto's base running blunder, and Randy Dobnak starting at Yankee Stadium in 2019.
Don't forget, too, I think there was the 2017 wild card game where the Twins, top of the first, look great.
Yeah.
Score some runs.
Doge hits a bomb, right?
Doge hits a bomb.
That's what Jake was talking about. Yeah.
And that was like
Irvin.
the pre-Bomba squad. I was wrong. That was the pre-Bomba. It was the early workings of the Bomba squad. Yeah.
But Doge hits the bomb. The Twins look great. Irvin's starting, and then he just absolutely, you know what, right down his leg.
Yeah. So there you go. That's your pecking order this week here. The Tuesday.
Thanks for doing that, Phil. Great idea, Dex.
Yeah,
nice idea, Declan. Thanks for coming up with that idea.
Negativity.
I'm really inspired to go watch my Vikings practice now. Very exciting after that.
Amazing. Yep. So we should let Judd go to Vikings practice. Later on today, we'll hit you on Purple Daily with Judd's minicamp observations. Thanks to Talkin Jake for taking time and joining the show with us today. Go check out Talkin Yanks, Talkin Baseball, and Jom Boy if you're not already following them on YouTube and social media. They're awesome. It's like making baseball young and fun is sort of their vibe, which is what I think baseball needs more of. So props to them. And Trevor Plouffe, former Twin, is a huge part of that company. So, yeah. All right, boys. We'll see you tomorrow on Mackie and Judd anyways for a little write that down and accountability session.